Welcome back, everyone, to the placement loop. I'm actually thinking about changing the name here real soon. So today I have our guest Judy Opperman here today, and we're gonna get right down into it. So it's Judy. Tell me, thank you for being on the podcast. Tell me a little bit more so of kind of what you're doing right now, and how did you come to doing what you're doing right now?
Well, thank you for the invite. Have been in human resources for a number of years, and I have worked corporate, and I've also worked for a number of companies across the different industries. Had an opportunity to pretty much work with an individual in a consulting gig, and as a result of that, we did about 3 years with the consulting gig, excuse me. And after COVID, I decided to go out on my own and develop strategic human resources solution partners. And we are a small HR consulting group. We are two people plus contractors. And at the end of the day, we can rub shoulders with any major consulting firm and pretty much do a better job.
Nice, nice. That's a bold claim. So, doing a better job, you're thinking more along of like, who are your competitors that you could do a better job than that.
Well, you have your Mercks, you have your Watsons, you have used to be your big eight, whittled down to
Mm.
four of them. But the good thing for us, the benefit for us, or working with us, pretty much is at the end of the day, we know your business. We don't have multiple layers within the business, and we don't have the billing fee schedule
Mm.
that scares lots of companies away. And when I talk about lots of companies, I'm talking about startups, small companies
Okay.
who at the end of the day don't have a huge budget, but need our services and can't engage in the bigger consulting firms.
That's so you've brought on a couple of good points. I think the main takeaway is, we put it in its broad spectrum, not just in your case, but essentially the question is usually asked, how can really small consulting firms realistically compete with the big enterprise firms? And you hit the nail right there because you have that when you come from that background and already been in the trenches, right? You have the intimate knowledge that you can connect with your potential client, right? Or even current clients, as well as the different layers, right? So a lot of these bigger firms have to tack on like a 35% fee or maybe like a 67% markup because they have all this overhead. Especially, we talk about layers as far as the different decision makers that have to be really working together and different ideas that are scraping more so creating more friction of the end result because everyone has different ideas what an outcome may be, especially have essentially too many chiefs, not enough Indians within a specific project. So the biggest piece, I think the biggest takeaway is definitely that intimate knowledge and you're there to actually help them versus trying to pay everyone else's pockets, right? You're there just to really help them and you're leveraging that. So that's good. That's a great point. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So headquarters to you and someone else, and the rest are contractors, so
Correct.
which are consultants essentially for
Mhm.
programs. I'm very familiar with that. Me being in the federal government contracting space, right? A lot of them are consultants. They're there for multiple years that we'd be billing. Now, how do you essentially keep your stable of consultants engaged and actually connected with the company? Because a lot of them you're probably not billing for the folks that you have connections with. So how do you keep them engaged?
Well, a lot of the relationships are long-term relationships with individuals that I have worked with
Yeah.
and my partner has worked with. And when we decided we were going to start this consulting business, what we did was we reached out to a number of people in specific areas. For example, a benefits contact, a 401k contact, a payroll contact, and asked them if they were interested in signing up with us, knowing that it was a temporary gig or the gigs would be temporary. And what we do is we run jobs that we get by them that are in their specific expertise, and we don't drop them because we don't have any business for them. We keep them engaged. We talk about internal and external learning, how to improve. We have conversations with them on a regular basis in terms of what's going on in the market. So we're constantly keeping them engaged and ensuring that when there is something that's out there, we're tapping into them and working around their schedule pretty much. Because if they do have a full-time job, it's important that we don't interfere with what they're doing. So we have to be very respectful, and we are very respectful of who they are, what they're doing, the demands on their immediate role,
Uh-huh.
and work around their schedule, as I mentioned.
Yeah. So, a couple of good takeaways. And one thing I wanted to ask, do you do like newsletters, like drips, email drips of like content, valuable resources for the folks?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're doing newsletters, we're doing blogs on our apps, on our site. We are posting to LinkedIn on a regular basis. We
Nice.
post to LinkedIn. We also are affiliated with a number of different groups. We're tied into a lot of the societies. So we are constantly reaching out to different individuals or different groups and societies to ensure that our message gets out there and that we're not forgotten as a
Nice.
small boutique consulting firm.
Nice. That's good. So putting the brand out there, making the name for essentially making the name for yourself in different avenues, affiliates, partnerships, and just putting just content out. I think the most critical aspect is putting the content out because at least two things happen, right? You get some reach, you get some
Hmm.
folks, and you build trust. I think that's the biggest
Absolutely.
piece is being able to build trust, and that's the hardest thing, right? A lot of folks get spammed with 4 or 5 different emails offering the exact same thing. I think when it comes to finding ways to build trust or at least show credibility in the fastest way possible, I think is where you can keep both your pipeline of candidates or future consultants engaged as well as prospects, folks that are now going to be in your ecosystem.
And one of the other things that I'd like to also add is that over the years, we've developed a number of testimonials, not only on our LinkedIn page, but also on our business page. And the testimonials speak to the company as well as speak to the individual senior people within the company.
Nice.
So so that a testimonial will speak to Judy Opperman or to David,
Right.
which is a great thing.
That's awesome. And these testimonials are centered around the client side or the candidate side or both, actually.
The testimonials are centered around the client and the work that has been done and the trust.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
So
that's great.
it makes it for a well-rounded organization or
Yeah,
small
that's
boutique
great
consulting
branding.
group.
That's good stuff. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then with that, you really just like start scaling with starting with those as well. So the testimonials are so key nowadays for building trust. Sometimes folks who are they're doing a good job, but it's harder for them to get conversions. They don't add the testimonials. Well, with having a testimonial increases your conversions at least by 50% because there's proof of concept, right?
Yes.
And that's the biggest piece is to not also appear scammy or fake. So you have proof of concept. You got someone telling you it's a great job, so you know it works. And you can come in with number one higher pricing as well, and more clients just in general. So sweet. So switching gears, right? It seemed to be a good flow right now, getting some engagement all around from the client side. Right now, what has been your biggest challenge when it comes to landing new clients? And what are your potential solutions or what systems do you have in place to solve that?
Well, there are a couple of things. It's how do we reach out to the clients? And there's a number of different ways that we have gone out and reached for the clients. One of the major issues is finance. How do we wisely spend the monies that we have in terms of our resources? What is the best alternative to reach those clients? We're looking at LinkedIn, we're looking at different opportunities that are out there. We're looking at different programs to draw clients in. And pretty much it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
absolutely is a lot of hard work.
Yep. A lot of grind, and that's the whole thing. Is that for folks who haven't worked a sales job before, it's exactly what it is, right? It's the finding the right leads. It's doing the outreach to get a hold of them, and not only that, it's also the outreach for them to be interested, right? To essentially get them to buy not a product that you're selling on someone's behalf, but your own product service, right? So a lot of folks don't realize the amount of effort and grind that puts into it. So yeah, that often is like the toughest thing. So what, you're talking about the finance aspect, right? Like where does the budget need to lie, right? Do we need to rely on more of marketing side, or do we need to rely on tools for better outreach, right? That's kind of usually the deciding factor when it comes to budget of like where folks want to look to spend their money when it comes to essentially growing the business itself. Right. So yeah, definitely some aspects there, and you exploring different solutions and systems definitely attracts with some of the folks that I've spoken with as well.
Yes, we have used AI for our internal administrative functions, and we have used AI in assisting us in developing materials to post. And we have also used AI to determine how to create our proposals to our clients,
Nice.
and also come up with different frameworks with for our clients
Hmm.
for specific projects. So AI is pretty much embedded in our organization.
Awesome.
But I must say, to anybody that is using AI, and a number of people have discovered this, AI is not everything it's meant to be. You need
Yep.
to understand your business. You need
Yep.
to understand your reference points,
Yep.
because not all of the AI reference points are absolutely accurate. So you need to tread lightly with AI. You need to, as they say, walk before you run.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of folks take that out of, they think that AI is going to be like this silver bullet that solves everything. It could do a lot, right? But the difference between someone that knows the business, how to deliver to a specific client, and uses AI to leverage that, versus a person who's working with an AI that says that they know the client and has a pre-built system. Always going to go with the person that is the actual expertise, right? The actual
Right.
human that has the experience of talking to other humans and getting feedback and information on project delivery, right?
But the question also is product delivery, and where did the information come from?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, who's teaching the AI? Because there's always going to be someone that teaches the AI.
Right.
And every AI is it's not perfect at all, and it's kind of meant to be that way too. It was never meant to be something to fully replace people, depending on how you look at it. But it's definitely meant to, for the folks who know how to leverage it, maximize what they can actually do. Uh,
Absolutely.
that's huge. That's huge. Now, throughout your career and the niche that you've been in for so long, like how have you seen the industry change, the HR consulting industry, especially with like tech, remote work, and how employees think about work nowadays?
Well, the business has changed dramatically from viewing HR as just an administrative function to an HR function that is really dealing with where the company is going, being a partner with the senior management team, ensuring that everything that is done from an HR perspective is you're looking at where the company is how and where the company is growing to. When I say that, I mean it used to be very transactional, now it's strategic.
Uh-huh.
Strategic in a way where you need to look at the skills. You need to look at who we're hiring. What do we, or how do we bring in different technology to enhance the workforce skills? How does AI partner with employees and managers to improve productivity? How do we realign the workforce? How do we realign the workforce so that it complements where senior management wants to take the organization?
Right, right, right. Okay. And speaking of how you're adapting, you're tapping in more so also to international and global markets too, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, as that's been recent. That's been more like a recent change, hasn't it?
Well, for us adapting to global markets, I would say the last 2 years
Okay,
we have, but I have always worked with international organizations in a full-time position.
got it.
And the
Hmm.
challenges are very different. The challenges are very different from an international perspective where you are a full-time HR person or you're an international HR consultant, because you walk into those organizations and you have to identify the culture. You have to identify what their rules and regulations are internally. And if they're in different areas of the country, I'll use Canada, for example. If you're in different provinces, there are different rules and regulations that you need to ensure that whatever your global organization is, your policies and procedures basically speak to your international partners.
Right.
So it is a lot of work. It's very time consuming, and you have to be right. You have to be right, and if you're not right, you need to be able to turn on a dime to ensure that whatever policies you are setting up in terms of individuals that are departing an organization in Italy are much different than those policies in Spain or in London.
Would you say that it's double the work, essentially, when it comes down to working internationally versus?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, because here in the States, what you can do is you look across all the states and you come up with a lot of the information, because there are a lot of professionals, that organizations that created a lot of policies and procedures that are state driven, like benefits and healthcare, et cetera.
Yeah.
When you go to a London or a Paris or an Italy, those are very obscure.
Yeah.
You need to deal with multiple legal entities to
Yep.
ensure that you're getting the information. And then you're dealing with the translation, because it's not really 100% English.
Yep.
A lot of it is put into a different language, and you need to ensure that the people that you're hiring on the other side from a legal perspective are working alongside you as partners.
Yep. Yep. Little side story here. My fiance, she's from Central America, right? So a lot of the stuff that she has like on her phone or whatever browser she's on is in Spanish. And
Mhm.
sometimes she'll like show me, like she'll ask me for help on like how to fill out this specific document for medical records or talking to her lawyer and stuff, which is all in Spanish. And I'm like, uh-uh, I cannot help you unless this is in plain English because like I can't help you unless it's in plain English because like I know that I'm not fluent in Spanish. I'm pretty good in Spanish actually, right? So, but I know that there's certain words that you just want to make sure that you're 100%, 1,000% certain on because one word can change your life when it comes to legal docs. So that's like,
Absolutely.
nope, it's got to be in English. Got to be in English. And that's huge. And I think that that big piece about translation, the term lost in translation definitely can apply to this aspect to where one single word, if especially in HR, can make or break a business, right? Especially
Absolutely.
going out there. What would you say is like your turning point of wanting to go globally, knowing that it's more work?
The work is not what we're worried about. Going globally is, we've over the years have worked for organizations. I have worked with organizations where a CFO is London based
Mm,
or
okay,
or is Canadian based.
got it.
And, in order to expand our reach, what's important is to touch base and network with those individuals. And if it
Hmm.
happens to be an organization that they know about and that they're comfortable with recommending us, then fine. We get on a plane and we go to London.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. See, that's the thing. It's not just the fact that you thought of, all right, let's go global because that's a good market. It just happened naturally, organically throughout the
Right.
relationships that you built. Right? And
Absolutely.
a lot of people think of, yeah, I want to tackle the Texas market, right? But they're based in Virginia. I was like, no, this is me, like even talking to the sales team I was leading. I was like, no, focus on just one territory. Focus on being the expert in that territory, in that area, right? Get a bunch of testimonials, get a bunch of like feedback, and then you build the relationship. Then whatever the relationship takes you, you follow it. And essentially, that's how we did it in the federal government world. Essentially, start somewhere, start somewhere on the spider web, and then just have the spider web pull you to where you need to be. Right. So yeah, good stuff. I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's the piece right there of why businesses really more so pivot such in a drastic way, right? Such as like scaling globally. So great. I think that's actually well, I would say just one final question. And this one usually hits a little deeper to home, but what would you tell yourself, your younger entrepreneur self? Well, it's one thing if you go back in time, tell your younger entrepreneur self, what would you say?
I would say to myself that I should have done this sooner, that the learning experience of 20 years could have turned it into a major consulting firm, an HR consulting firm, because the experience is there. And at the end of the day, if we started out sooner and we were on the right track until COVID hit, we probably would be having different conversations at this point. The very successful business, the very, hands or footprint in different areas and different countries, etc.
Yeah,
So I think that's what I would say to myself.
that's great. That's great. Yeah, don't wait. Right. It's
Right.
just take that uncomfortable step sooner rather than later. Which is great. So, folks, I'll put the links to contact you, like email, your website, your LinkedIn as well. Judy, thank you so much for the time today, folks. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Take care.